Hi, Ann Cornick from Paintnporcelain. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting and also to encourage those of you that have been painting a while to pick up those brushes and paint along with us. And today we're working on the last part of our Valentine box with Zentangles. And this is what mine looks like right now. And you can see the red is not real deep and dark. And so what I want to do is get that real even, and that's why I said put it on your first fire, and then when you do the second fire, it'll even it out. This is the second fire, and this is what we're looking for. So see how dark that is? That's really what you want. Okay, let me just, there we go. And that's what you're looking for. This up here is all first fire. The red, it's only one fire, and it really turned out well. So if you put it on dark enough, you should be okay. So now with my one that I have already finished, let me show you. It's fairly shallow. And so when I put the heart on it, I don't think it needs anything else. I think this is going to do it and look really nice. And I don't want it to take away from the heart that I worked so hard on. For those of you that have a really deep bottom to your box, and I do on this heart box here, you can see it's awfully deep. You may want to do something to offset it because it looks kind of bleak. Now I'm fortunate, mine has a little edge on it, and I think I'm going to do that in either red or black, and that's enough. I don't want to do more than that. But if you did, you could paint it with a red or a black or whatever color you want, whatever color you painted your box. And then you could, but you have to make sure it's really, really smooth. You don't want it to look patchy or messy. So if you paint it, then you can either pounce it with a silk. Silks are just, they're like scarves, but they have to be out of silk. You look on the little tag that comes with them and it'll tell you. And you can get them at the secondhand store, so you don't have to spend a fortune on them. And I put a cotton ball under here, and then I rubber band it, and I can pounce and kind of even out my color on my piece. You could also use a sponge, and there are a lot of different kinds. There's this kind, the makeup sponge that you can get at the store. Five Below has these, and you get two, I think, or three. And then you could use the pink sponge. You can tell I've been using this. You just put your finger in the middle of the pink sponge and create like a little soft end and then pounce. That can also help you. The other thing, if you want to make the edges of the box a color or the bottom of the box a color, I would suggest that you maybe take even like we did on the holly and take a little bit of saran wrap and crinkle it up and then just pounce and you'll have a texture. But I don't know if you want a texture with all the work that you already have on the box. So that's something you're going to have to decide. But anyway, those are just a few ideas for finishing off the bottom of your box. Okay, I'm going to tilt you down now. We have a lot of people who are new to China painting since, I'd say in the last 3 months. So when I tilt you down, I'm also going to show you how to mix paint because I think that's important for the new people, and it's something that I don't do on camera very often, and I think it will help them. Okay, so I already poured out my paint. This is black. As you know, paints come in these little vials, little powdery vials, and this is Best Black. I have mineral oil that I have already in a little dropper bottle. I usually start with 2 drops, and that's about the size of, I guess, my thumbnail. And I usually, well, looks like I got one big one, so let's see what that does. Don't put too much oil in on it. Start with a little bit. You can always add more, but it's very difficult to take it away. You end up having to add powder, and pretty soon you've got more powder than you have oil. See, it's a good thing I didn't because it's absorbing most of the oil. Okay, and you're going to scrape all the little gunk off the edges and bring it into the middle and really mix it up. Now, you want it to be about the consistency of toothpaste or icing. And you're going to scrape it up and clean off both sides of your knife. Really mess it up. Get all the grains so that it's all really, really mixed in. And then when you're done with all that, you're going to pick it all up on the end of your knife and you're going to put it on your palette. And make sure you take it off of both sides of your knife when you put it on your palette. Okie doke. So that's how you mix paint. After I do that, I usually wipe off my tile and I use like a Kleenex or something I can throw away so that I don't have any of that color anywhere around, because there are powder that can get into the Kleenex. You don't want that to get on your piece. Okay, and I'm going to use this then to paint on. Alrighty, so I'm using mineral spirits to clean, and I'm using pine oil for my my lines if I need to redo them. This is pine oil. And then I'm just using my regular painting medium for everything else. The brush I'm going to start out with, I think, is going to be my, and I'm going to put this up here so I can kind of see what I'm going for, just so I don't forget where the colors are. I think I'm going to start out, this brush is my, who is this? This is Jane Houston. And this is a great brush. If you ever come across it, it's a pink brush. It's a number 2. It's just ideal. And so if you do come across it, by all means, get it, because you will love it. And I'm going to take my Jane Houston number 2. It's a nice pointy brush. And I'm going to start on, it's just better if you start in the middle, because you don't get your hand in anything. Try to stay away from the black if you can, but if you can't, you can touch it up, and you're going to have to anyway, because this isn't, you can see my black is not dark enough. It needs a second fire. And then I'm going to try to smooth this as best I can. I'm going to put some up here, and I'm just going to put the red on here. Now, if you put it on dark enough, or if you're using a dark red, the reason I use this particular brush is I know it's going to apply the red perfect for me. It's just going to be nice and dark. And that's what I want. So if you have a brush that does a better job of applying the red for you, that's what you should be using, because you want it to be dark so you don't have to do this again. And then right here, I think I could use a little more of the depth, and then I just smooth a little bit. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to do the top part up here. Okay, now, before I go on much further, I'm going to take a minute, load up my liner, and just reinforce any of the black. I don't know if you can see, but this black line here has a break in it, and I don't want that, so I'm just going to do that over. I'm going to kind of do this over. And that's all you're going to do on this final fire, is you're just going to touch things up, get them the way you want them. Make sure your blacks are dark enough and look really nice. That's why a turntable is so handy. You can rest your hand and you don't have to worry about getting paint on it. And then I'm going to do a little here. I think you could use a little right here. Don't go over it if it doesn't need it. Don't mess up what you've done. Only do what you need to do. And then you're going to go into the next area. Now, if you do get a little on here, and I got a little bit of red, I don't even know if you can see it right there. I just removed it with my Pico-Pay. Now, this is going to be black and white, and this is an area where I did finish it, but it always needs a little extra work. Let me just bring it up so you can see. Can you see there how some of those are just, on either side there, are just kind of light or a little smeary? So you're going to want to start at the bottom and just go over them so they're really nice and heavy and all the same heaviness. And this is where you can correct that center section. It should be like a little oval dip. And so you're just going to take and kind of go over everything. This is your chance to smooth it. That's why I said last time, don't worry if on the first coat you didn't get everything the way you wanted it. You still have the second coat to do that. I got a little out of the line here. I'll get that. This is piddly and fiddly, and so you're going to have to be patient with yourself on it. Try to have a nice steady hand. Have something to rest your hand on. If you don't have one of these, maybe put it in something so you can put a board across the top and rest your hand, or just make sure that you have something where you can rest your hand so that you're keeping it nice and even and nice and smooth. And like I said, you don't have to do everything. So if you think some of these are good, leave them. But I think most of mine kind of needed a little work because I was in a little bit of a rush last time. And even though when I finished it, I wasn't always on the air for everything, I just didn't really take my time. You can also correct errors that you made. So if you didn't quite connect this to that, you can go back and make that correction now, and that'll help. Always watch the end of your brush. Make sure you don't have a big glob of paint on it. Now, as I get up to near the top here, I think it's pretty good. So I might correct a couple of these little guys. Oh, and I missed one here. And I missed one right here. See, that's another reason why you want to do this, is because you can fill in these little guys you missed, connect things where they need to be connected, and do all of that. Now, I don't think any more of that needs to be done. I might just go over the top here. And I might do it the other direction because I've got a little smear there, and I think I could correct that by just going a little thicker. Yep, there we go. And then I would do the same thing on this side. Now, I'm getting into color again here. So what I'm going to do is start out with the red. I gotta make sure I got oil on my brush. If you clean your brush, you may forget to put oil on it. Always check before you get starting again. You're gonna go in between. Am I in the way? I'm probably, yeah, a little bit in the way here. Let me do it on this side. You're gonna go in between the lines as much as possible. If you touch the line, that's okay, but you really don't want to if you can avoid it. That's why this brush is so important. If you have a nice brush that is a good liner or a good number 2, but it's got the point on it, then this is the time to pull it out and use it. And you want to put it on dark, so keep going back into your paint. I'm going to go up this side here. Make sure you go to the edge. See these little spots here? If you don't get to them, you've got to get to the edge. If you don't reach the edge of this, and I'm sorry, I might be in the way, but I want to make sure I get it. There you go. Then you're going to have a problem because it's going to look unfinished when you fire it. I jumped ahead here because I'm getting tired of looking at those all in a row. And sometimes you do better if you just jump ahead and then go back and pick it up, but don't get in your own way. That's why I say try to work from the middle out. Okay, so I just wanted to do a couple of these so I could then show you the next thing you do in this section. And see there was some black in the center section because I hadn't cleaned it off really well. So now I'm going back and covering it with the red, and voila, it disappeared. Now you can see how black line is disappearing in some of these spots, and it's because, it could be because of the red I'm putting on, although I don't believe it is. I believe that the black line was never really strong to begin with. So I'm going to stop that for a minute, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to go back now with I'm using my pine oil, and I'm just going to start and I'm going to outline where I need to outline. There, a little bit. There, a little bit. And then, if you can see now, oh, I know there's a little bit of a glare on there. Can you see right here? Let me bring it up to you real close. I think you, oops, there. Not all of those reds are really filled in nicely. And the black is kind of now fading. The reds are all filled in, but the black is fading. So I'm just going to take and go back over the black like this. Only where I need to. This one I'm not going to go over again because it's pretty dark. And then here I will, and here I will. And here definitely, because that totally faded into the background, and here. And then I will do the middle section. Between the two colors. Need a little more oil. The pine oil is deceiving because you can go several dips in your paint if you use a liner with pine oil before you actually need to reload the pine oil on your brush. But if it starts pulling, that's when you need to reload it. It also makes it very easy to outline stuff like this. Very easy. Just make sure you go to the edge. Okay, I'm just going to go that far because I don't want to get black on here when I start applying the red. You use the darkest color last. So, okay, I'm going to clean off my brush. And now I'll go back and do this a little bit here. Okay. And here. You don't have to use pine oil. Try your pen oil. If your pen oil is good, then use that. Whatever works for you. I had some trouble with some of my chinas. They were cheap chinas. Cheap stuff. Like I got it at the, you know, like Pier 1 used to carry it. And, oh, I don't know. Walmart sometimes has china and stuff like that. And it's not a real good quality china to paint on. And so I found that when I use pine oil, the paint went on smoother because some of those would balk when I would try to apply the paint, the lining on it. And I even use it sometimes to paint. I have a lighter oil that I use to paint. If you get a chance, and if you can get like a lighter oil, let me give you an example here. I have one that I believe is Jane, here it is. I think it's Jane Houston. Yeah, it's Jane Houston, and it's a thin painting medium. You could tell I don't have very much left. I think you could still get this through, I think Dallas carries a lot of her stuff. And it works too on the cheaper china. You can use a thinner oil. So, you know, just experiment. If somebody's selling their paints, or somebody has a thinner oil and you want to try it, you know, go ahead and do it. I wouldn't go out and buy something special if you already have an oil that you use as a pen oil. I would try using that first. But with this application, I know that the pine oil just made it very smooth and easy to use. And for me, that was a godsend because you know, you guys are watching me. I don't want to screw up. I'd rather do it a nice job for you. Now here I'm only trying to do where it needs it on these guys. So yeah, if you have pine oil, try it. If you don't go out and buy it. Try what you have first. If it doesn't work, then order it. I'm not a big fan of spending money just to spend money. Now, I will have to go over the black here because it didn't come out as nice as I wanted it to on the first fire. It fires out. My black fires out, and I'm using Best Black, which is not always the easiest to find, but it is the darkest black that I can find. Okay. And then, like I just did, I went over everything that I had already done with black on here and just darkened what needed to be darkened. Ooh, I think I need a little more there. Maybe a little there. Okay. All right, so that's that side. Now, people are going to know you painted it, so don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, if things aren't exactly perfect, that's fine. That's how they know it's hand painted. Okay, then for this part in here, I'm going to take my number 10. I'm going to clean things off a little bit here. Use my regular oil. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. And I'm just going to paint it. And I'm using carnation red. If you don't have carnation red, use blood red. It will work fine, especially if you put Persian under it if you have Persian. If not, then just use 2 coats of blood red or use 2 coats of Persian. Whatever you have, like I said, don't go out and buy special paint just to finish this. Now, normally I would have everything on top done, because otherwise you can see I'd be putting my hand in it here. But so this is what you do down here. Make sure you're getting this as smooth as possible and as even as possible. Don't let the paint build up. You saw I almost did it there. You want to smooth it out so that it's not building up, because if it builds up, it can chip, and that's just about as bad. And if it starts to drag like it did for me right there, then I would recommend that you just go get some more oil. Okay. I'm going to finish off down here. I know I'm in the way, but there is no other way to get down there. Okay. There we go. And then you're going to feather, which is holding your brush back at the end like this and just lightly pulling over it, just trying to smooth things out, okay? And then the final thing you're going to do here, clean off your brush. Ooh, my brush is a mess. That red, the carnation red, is just awful when it comes to building up. And I may actually use a number 10 up here. It's a little bit rough, and I may use the number 10 to smooth it. If I did, now that I put in the turpentine, always put it back in your oil, put a little color on it, and then smooth it, especially if it's been sitting up a while, because the last thing you want to do is get that wipe it off after you worked on it so hard. There we go. Okay, now using my pine oil, I'm going to go back in and just outline. Can you see here? I'm going to pull it up a little. Can you see right at the bottom here how it got all matted and the colors got all over everything? I don't want to go too far around on that side. And then on this side, I'm just going to, and I don't need any there. And you just go around the heart like I'm going now. And then for me, the hardest thing in the world is signing my name. I don't know about you. On the other one, I signed my name like right in here somewhere. Tried to keep it fairly indiscreet. If you're signing your name, let's go over this because we talked about mixing paints. We might as well talk about this too. Let me get my tile up here for you. Well, let me get a tile. Here's a tile. Okay. I take the paint that I already have mixed, and I take a very small amount, like maybe that much, not very much. And I take my oil. Now, my pen oil that I use is the AMP5 Easy Flow. Then I'm taking my pen oil, tipping the bottle on its side and just dipping the end of my palette knife in it and adding a little from one side, seeing if that's thin enough. Nope, then I'm going to add a little from the other. The way that you know that it's thin enough, and I don't believe this is, let me just try. Oh, it is, I think. It's going to drip, drip, drip. Come on, drip. Well, it's just trying to drip off the end. It's not doing a really good job. Let me just get a little more here. It's a little, yeah, see, it'll drip right off the end. That's how you know that it's the right consistency. Then make sure you cap your oil. Get your pen. Make sure your pen has a good nib on it. Mine is I believe it's a 201. And you're going to scoop it from the side like that. And that little hole, oops, do you see that little hole? Don't cover it. You will hate yourself if you cover it. Then you're going to get your piece that you want to put your name on. Put it up there. And then just go down and write your name. Oh, wow. Must have known I was on camera because I've never written my name that well before. I ran out, so you have to go back and get a little more. And there you go. And then when you're done, clean your pen. I dip it in my mineral spirits and I wipe it out. But see, if you wipe it on a towel, it doesn't all come out. So what I do is I take a Q-tip and just wipe inside the end of it so that I'm sure then that it's clean all the way through. And see how much came off? So it was worth it. Okay, so that's how you finish your piece. It's not difficult. There's not a lot to it. Let me just get this one spot right here that still needs a little bit of, okay. So now I'll finish this with the black, then I'll start on this side and work my way out until I get done. I'm glad you joined me. Pick up those brushes, keep painting. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.